Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Online. My name's Steve Niemeyer. I'm with you on this journey. Today, we're going to continue talking about prostate cancer, and we're going to talk about fear. And it's fear of the unknown, it's fear of the diagnosis, it's fear in waiting, because you know as well as I do, it's a waiting game, especially after you've had your prostatectomy or you've had radiation, you've had chemo, you've had any combo of any of that, and you're assuming your Gleason scores are going to be bottomed out and you're not going to have to worry about it. It's undetectable for the rest of your life. And I hope that for each and every one of you, but that isn't always the case. And regardless of where you are, that 3 month checkup, you're waiting for it to be 6 months, but then you're kind of worried if the 6 months doesn't catch something, that you could have caught at 3 months. If it does catch something at a year that it could have caught in 3 months or 6 months, you're going to also second guess that. So the fear is there, it's real. It affects you, it affects people around you because you don't know how to handle that sometimes. The people around you don't know what to do to help you be better. I read something on the Prostate Cancer Support Group page, and it was posted there. So I'm just going to share this with you. Know that this isn't me, it was just something that I got from that site. It said March 12th, I got the diagnosis of Gleason 9 stage 3C prostate cancer. And most everyone here knows that the mention of cancer, the emotions that follow that diagnosis, and certainly fear is the worst of the emotions. Fear is a robber, it's a magnifier, and fear is a liar. Fear is not going to make anything better. It will most certainly make things worse. Learning to conquer that fear is something we need to do, or at least minimize it. I'm learning that if I stop worrying about what might happen, what the cancer will do to me, what side effects I will get from the treatments, and how it's going to change my life, and instead accept. That's right, accept. I've got some crap ahead of me, but I can handle it. I can deal with it head on, and I'm not going to let fear define it for me. And I think that's very important that you stay on top of the diagnosis, not only physically following along with all of it, making sure everything's going according to plan, but emotionally you're ready for this journey as well, because it is a tough one. It continues. I'll take one thing at a time and I'll handle it. Positive attitude will have a positive effect on everything. The effectiveness of my treatment on my health, my recovery, and the quality of my life for the rest of my life. And my family and friends, they will see what kind of man I am. They'll never have a better opportunity to demonstrate that. It's not going to be easy, and fear, even terror, may indeed creep in from time to time, but I am not going to let it dominate me. I will dominate it. That's my hope. And I love that. I read it and it resonated. And I said, hey, I'm going to share this. And I've talked to a few people, including Richard, and an update on Richard. He did get a hold of me. And he said, hey, surgery went well. I'm in recovery. Then I got an update from him later saying I'm a little sore, but I made it through it. It was a nice nap. We've continued to talk. In fact, this evening, we're going to record another Hopecast where he's going to share his journey and his story of his hospital, the surgery, the recovery, and now what it's like being home a week later. So we're going to do that this evening, but I got some information this last weekend. I was at the Llano Crawfish Festival waiting to talk to William Clark Green because he was performing there, and he came out of the bus and we talked for a little bit. But while I was waiting on him, my phone said I had a message, and I looked at it and it said, Baylor, Scott, and White, you have new test results. And I knew that was the 6 month PSA checkup answers that I'd been looking for. And it's one of those things, I've said this before, you keep checking it, you keep looking, like every 2 or 3 hours, you look to see if there's something there. And once a day anyway, you're going to go into it, even though you didn't get a notification, to make sure that there's no test results. But it came back, and I told my wife, I said, hey, look, showed her my phone. She goes, don't open that now. And I said, well, if you want to see it with me, you need to come over here because I'm going to open it. I need to know. It's eating at my brain. I became a butthead a few days, a week leading up to all of this because I feared the news. And even though I pushed it out of my mind saying there's nothing you can do about it, PSAs are PSAs, it was undetectable at first, and then it was detectable. And when I said that, it was low. It was a 0.025. And when I got this one back, it was a 0.05. So from a 0.025 to a 0.05 doesn't seem like a big deal, but it did double in a 3-month time frame. And with the aggressiveness of mine, with some invasion and also outside the margins, it's a wake-up call. And the team that did my surgery looked at this and they said, in the hospital, if your PSA gets at or above 0.05, we're going to have to start talking radiation. It's going to be early chemical reoccurrence. And that's, I guess, where I am. I don't know. Still a little bit freaked out. The news has not set well, and there's another emotional side to that I'm going to get to. But I go to the doctor tomorrow. It's a urologist, so he will make a determination with his friends from over there what he thinks that it's going to end up being. But at this point, it's a wait and see game. I will find out what he wants to do tomorrow. But this waiting and this scary stuff that's going on, I don't think I want to deal with the radiation right now. And so, well, what if I don't do that? Well, you know the outcome of saying you're going to quit during this journey. It never ends well. But this is one of those things that's a little scary. There's enough stuff going on in my life right now. This is just another piece that I don't really want to deal with right now, but I know I'm going to have to. Will we wait another 3 months and see what it does? Because if it doubled, then we'd be at a 0.1, then that 0.2 where they say you need to do it. You look online and that reoccurrence doesn't happen until it's like at a 0.2 or whatever. That's not the case. It's not detectable until it hits a 2, I believe, doing a PET scan. I never had the PET scan. It's something I need to do more research on because I have a feeling in the future I'm going to have one of those as well. But they were talking that I was going to have to go ahead and get this thing looked at, the numbers, watching it. Now that we've watched it and it's elevated, what are we going to do? Don't know. I asked the question of how do you know where to radiate? But then you think, wait, we had invasion, we had outside the margins. Those are the areas they're going to want to tackle. They're going to want to get in there, and by doing it early, you're at a microscopic battle where before you had a big mass, you eliminated the prostate, the mass went with it. Now you're just left with residual stuff. And so with that residual, I'm in it now. And I talked to my buddy that had prostate cancer, same doctors, ended up doing radiation on the backside, but his got up to 0.23, I believe. And so they said, you need to do it. And it did it in a pretty quick amount of time, but his PSA numbers were lower to begin with. His PIRAD score was lower. The mass was, smaller. It was one of those things. I don't know if that changes any of the variables for the outcome. I've been in this weird emotional person, this emotional being going, why me? I'm going back into that stuff. And, the guilt is starting to come back and go, my family's going to have to go through this and it's going to be scary. But you know what? It's bizarre. Um, the family has kind of backed away from the situation. I think they're tired of hearing about it. They don't want to be scared. They say, hey, it's over. He had surgery. Everything's going to get back to normal. He's good. Well, Dad's not good. Dad's still dealing with complications. And I was just starting to feel a little more energized and able to get out and do yard work 2 days in a row without needing to take 2 weeks off. And, it's an ugly thing, and I fear the backside of doing radiation. And some people get sick, get really dog tired, no energy. Other people say it's not that bad, you just do it. There again, what are they radiating? How much are you doing your ADT? I have no idea how all that's going to work. I don't know what they're going to suggest. They may say, let's look at it in 3 months, and then again in 3 months, and we're going to see that scale go up. And if it does, we'll deal with it. But, my wife says, no, no, no. If something's going on, you're going to take care of it now. And that would be awesome to be able to do that. But I'm afraid that this journey is an ongoing thing that's never going to stop. I see people that go 5, 6, 10 years without having any issues, and all of a sudden it comes back and it's metastasized places. And they're doing the once a year check, and when that thing goes up and you realize that I don't know what kind of damage could be done in a year. I was doing some more research. I had said something about, oh well, at least it's the good cancer, which I have heard people say. And my wife and daughter said, okay, who said that? I haven't heard that. I said, have you been online? Have you looked at that support group page? People tell stories and it's ugly, and they want to talk about the bad things that have happened, because like I said, at some point you're going to want to share your story. But you have to realize the people that are just now being diagnosed, maybe their PSA's elevated. The doctor said, we're going to send you to have, and they go with the next test, or, now you need the urologist, and he says, I'm going to send you. I don't know where people are in this journey, but it's a scary thing to be in, and to emotionally overcome that is something that isn't just as simple as saying, yeah, I'm going to get over it. I'm done worrying about any of this, because you're not going to be done worrying about it, because this is cancer. It sucks. And you are in the middle of it. You may be at the beginning of your journey, but you're in the middle of the fact that from now until forever, you're going to have to wonder in the back of your mind, did it come back? Am I okay? Can I truly let my guard down? And I think you do, from listening to people and reading online. It's okay once you find out your number, right? And you see your doctor and they say, we're going to wait. You don't worry for 3 months. You're not scared for 3 months. That would be kind of silly. Sometimes it may creep in the back of your brain, just like that thing is that I read. It may be there, but you stop it and you get over it. But when it's coming up on a PSA test, and that the next thing you're going to have to do is get those results, and you're going to have to find out, what do I do? Am I clear for another however long, or is this raising a flag that says we're watching it once again? And I don't mean watching it by doing your PSA, watching it because it starts to climb, your PSA changes at some point. And my wife said, so they can't do another biopsy, right? And I said, no, there's nothing to biopsy unless they could pinpoint something. But if they pinpointed it, they would go in and just eliminate it. It would be another surgery, not near as bad. God forbid, I don't aspirate like I did last time. And speaking of that, my daughter, she's going to be back on the podcast. She's the one I talk with Shaylee, right? She's going to be back on the podcast, and we're going to talk. But she said, you didn't mention a whole lot about the aspiration pneumonia. And I said, well, part of that story I want to I want to share because your mom needs to be on for that podcast. She needs to be able to help from her standpoint of where she was and what was happening. It's like I said the other night, this is something I was so busy doing my thing. Number one, I slept through surgery. Number two, they pulled that tube that they use. And when they pulled the tube, I aspirated into my lungs, so stomach acid and blood or whatever else was got into my lungs and instantly went and started frothing in my lungs, and I had blood in the spit, and they were trying to get everything cleared out with my airwaves, and they picked me up and they threw me on a gurney and pushed me in there, and I got thrown up onto the table to do another CAT scan, and I get put in there, and they're all, you're done. They pull me out and they throw me back on the deal, and I'm being jostled around. And I remember when they were doing the CT scan, they were squeezing the bag trying to give me oxygen because it was so full in both lungs that I was in ICU, and I had 100% oxygen, and it was just an open flow, free flow with a, didn't mean to say free flow when I'm talking, the next step is the mask that was completely sealed off, and they were forcing oxygen into my lungs because I wasn't breathing right. My O2 levels dropped. And I'm thinking, this is goofy. I'm in and out. I just woke up from surgery. Then this other traumatic thing happens. So I was kind of out of it. But my wife and my children had to deal with this being away from me. My wife was in the same hospital. She was in a waiting room, and the doctor came out afterwards. The surgeon said everything went great with the surgery. You know, he did good. He did bleed a little more than normal, but you know what? It went well, and we think we got it, and we will do a follow up and let you know everything we know on the backside. And so I'm thinking, all right, we're good, right? I'm thinking she would have been thinking, but no, this is not the case because they came out later and said, well, there was a problem with the aspiration tube afterwards. And he did aspirate into his lungs. And so now we have to figure out what's going on with that. You should be able to see him in a little bit. Well, every time she got news, she got on the phone and started sharing information with her children. And then all of them were doing research and they were all doing their own thing and they were firing questions back at her. She didn't have answers. She was getting really upset. She didn't know what was going on. And then when they did finally let her come back into the room, it was 6.5. I don't know. We're gonna have to get the numbers down when we talk about this because like I said, I was kind of out of it. But when I opened my eyes in recovery and I looked over and my wife was sitting on the couch, I lost it. And every time I talk about it, I lose it. And I do want to share all of that and the emotional stuff she was going through and what my children went through. And they all want to talk and they all want to be part of this, which is specifically my journey through prostate cancer. When we get on the Hopecast, Richard and I are sharing stories not only of each other's journey through this, we're also talking to other people that have been down this road. And hopefully, we will continue to get people on telling stories so we can get different angles and we can get different procedures and different, locations in the country and see what's going on. But I'm telling you, when you put it all together, it all comes back into this caring community that says, not caring, caring. The heck are you talking about? And when I tell you what, we're not gonna get into the caring stuff, but it is a caring place. I saw a post this morning, and someone said, I went through this. I had a weird marriage going into it, and it was kind of rocky anyway. And my kids are older and moved away, and I had to go through this, and a lot of it I did alone, especially that mental game that you go through. I didn't have anyone really to talk to. His wife kind of distance herself. The kids took a few steps back as well, and nobody was calling to check on him. And he goes, I've been through all this, and it's like nobody is calling to check. And I go, my brain said, I understand that because I'm in that boat. I'm paddling down the river. I know everyone around me cares, and I know that it's just they pushed it to the back of their mind because it's not, you know, it's not happening right this second. They deal with when are the doctor's appointments. Let me know what you know. Um, but it's weird the questions that I thought I would get sick of. The hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What's going on today? And I go, nothing's changed. And now I go, I kind of long for the questions only because I kind of need to get this off my chest, which is why we're doing this too. You see, it's a win-win for everyone, I think. But I'm encouraging people that are new to this prostate cancer journey, or they have a family member that is going through this, a loved one, where you just need a little more insight to what's going on. And please, if you have a question, shoot it to me. Okay. It's pretty simple. hcrd.steve@gmail.com. That's where it goes. Anytime you need to go to our website, it is hcrd.online. And I know it's not a com or any of that stuff. hcrd.online, and that'll get you to the portal of the mini podcasts. And I have some ideas to do some other little things, little clips, little funnies as I'm going around observing life, because sometimes that happens. I see something, I'll go, I wonder what other people would think about this, or you know what I saw today? This is kind of bizarre. Those are the things that it's just a little side funny thing that'll be posted. So setting up the YouTube channel, the only problem is I'm new to all of this, and my YouTube stuff now has audio, but the video isn't there. It's just a caricature thing of me going, and it's it's in there, so you guys can go check it out. Trying to be on all platforms everywhere. Family said, hey, I'm going to help you do some of this, and I go, first we need to make sure things are working. And right now I'm learning some new tricks that you're going to see. Like if I go, what's that, and I point over there and there's nothing there right now except a plant, but it will be, there will be a box here, like right there, and it'll do logo-y stuff maybe, or it'll have a, hey, buy me a cup of coffee, or a QR link or something. I figured out I can do some of these things, but I need to check into this YouTube thing because I'm embarrassed. But I think I'm following along with the philosophy of a lot of people that are podcasting and video podcasting or blogging. What the heck are you going to call this stuff, right? It's a little confusing. Everyone's calling everything a podcast, and it seems like I have a podcast, and so everyone has a podcast. But this is a specific life journey thing where we are going to talk about a lot of different topics, but it's all going to be centered around this tree that we're throwing branches on. And we've talked about that episode 1. So you can go back and check it out, the plan for this. But as I learn new little tricks with this, and then I find out, wait, there's things that I can do I didn't know I could do, and things that should be easy haven't been, and why. And I told my daughter in Arizona, I said, hey, I'm about ready to hang this up. I quit. And she goes, no, you don't. I said, not the podcast, all the other stuff. It's not working. She goes, let me see it. And so she worked on the web page a little bit. She goes, what do you think? I go, that's cool, but I would change. So I went in and started doing some changes. And so now between everyone contributing what they can to this, it's become a family thing where everyone's going to try to help me out with it and make it happen. But you need that. You need the support staff, not only with prostate cancer and life. If you don't have someone to share your adventures with, your stories, to ask questions, to share your goals, your dreams, and your fears, because talking about it, it helps. But sometimes I'll say things And the people I'm talking to go, well, that's not that big a deal. To me, it is. Um, yeah, but that's why it's a personal decision, personal choice, and the outcomes are something you're going to deal with. And we'll get more answers tomorrow because, like I said, it's that 6 month PSA. Oh no, it doubled, but it's low. What do you do when it does that? If you guys have been through this, shoot me an email. Let me know what's going on, and we'll talk because I'm here for you. But I'm going to jump off here right now. I know it's a little short this time, but I'm working on some other things that are going to get posted. So I'm excited about that. So we're going to accept what it is right now and move on. I want to thank you guys for being part of this. Remember hcrd.online. That's the portal to get you anywhere. And the website that we threw up there, we're on any social media sites. Spotify is doing a great job keeping us going, trying to get it posted. Right now it's just audio, but I'll fix that. Um, on Facebook and or on YouTube rather, but Facebook, we have pages you can follow us. I don't know. We are going to be everywhere. It's just a slow start. And someone on the podcast thing said, don't ever stop doing what you're doing. What you do is put content out there. And the more you do, the better you get. The better you get, the more people will listen and they'll share it and they'll do their thing. So just keep chugging at it. Just chip away at the final sculpture you're looking at. I got it. I know what it looks like. I just need to get there. So you hang out with me and we'll do this together, all right? Hope you guys are doing well. If not, come on, shoot me an email. Let me know what's on your mind. We'll talk, all right? But until next time, you guys be good.